The purpose of this assignment was to present my personal reflections related to quotes from Clausen, 2012. I addressed the context and background of the City Council simulation and my leadership philosophy. In addition, I discussed my personal values, assumptions, beliefs, and expectations, and how they influenced my role in the community services sector and City Council. Then I reflected on 5 characteristics of emotional intelligence I experienced or observed during the simulation. Finally, I shared what I would change if I could repeat the simulation experience. This is Holly Marshburn. Thank you for taking the time for my presentation. First, I will talk about my reflection on being a representative of City Council. Effective communication can be a struggle between individuals and even more of a challenge for teams. When people consider the difficulties of effectively communicating, it is daunting to realize teams working virtually experience even more struggles. Chang and Lee, 2013. Communicating virtually through several methods can be helpful in bridging the communication gap. The communication process between City Council representatives for Period 2 was not consistent. The forms of communication that the City Council attempted to use included email, text messaging, and Blackboard Collaborate sessions. Ultimately, there was sufficient communication to complete the assigned task. However, it was difficult to reach that goal. The redeeming feature for Period 2 City Council was one very strong member. The social service sector member had a strong grasp on the urgency to set up meetings and complete tasks. She facilitated the communication and made herself available for answering questions. Period 2 City Council members did not communicate nor actively participate in group discussions with each other on a regular basis. Nor did everyone attend meetings synchronously. Everyone completed their assigned tasks, and Period 2 showed positive results and growth in the simulation. Kilman and Thomas identified 5 styles of handling conflict, with compromise being at the center of the framework. They explained that compromise is partially assertiveness and partially cooperativeness. People who compromise take their own and others' needs into account when making decisions. Although the City Council representatives had the common goal to improve the quality of life of the citizens for our simulation, I realized that we had to be realistic, and there were many different individuals coming from many different directions. I also realized that compromise was essential in reaching our common goal, even though the choices we ultimately made were not necessarily the ones I personally felt the strongest about. When I felt strongly about a decision, I made my case. However, if the majority of my sector felt differently, then it was time to compromise. As well, when my sector came to a decision, yet the majority of the other sectors felt differently, then we had to compromise on our position. I found it interesting that one of the City Council representatives was very non-compromising during one particular period. He believed that the only decision the sectors could make was his. My automatic response was to also refuse to compromise to his way of thinking. Fortunately, our City Council representative for that period was very diplomatic and handled the situation appropriately. Next, I will talk about my leadership philosophy as I served as the Community Services representative to the City Council. Through creating a leadership portfolio earlier in the course, I examined what leadership is and who I am as a leader. I used 10 leadership questionnaires to help me discover more about myself. Because of taking the questionnaires, I was able to define my personal leadership style. The results showed that I have potential for being a successful leader. The qualities and styles that I possess include traits such as self-confidence and conscientiousness. I have a democratic style of leadership with a high ability to balance tasks and relationships among subordinates. I have strong interpersonal skills, and I promote high standards of excellence among my subordinates. I tend to include those who are atypical of the mainstream. In addition, I am a collaborator, and I have a supportive style of conflict resolution. I mainly define and view leadership as being a skill, an ability, and behaviors. My classmates, friends, and family strongly agree that I am trustworthy, dependable, outgoing, self-confident, articulate, perceptive, and conscientious. These are important traits that comprise successful leaders. I maintain a diplomatic style of leadership. I balance the importance of accomplishing tasks and maintaining relationships with my subordinates. I balance administrative, interpersonal, and conceptual leadership skills. I promote standards of excellence. I find members of the outgroup valuable by making sure to include them and listening to their ideas. In fact, at times, I believe that I am a member of the outgroup, and it's reassuring to find out that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I have strong skills in dealing with conflict through compromise, accommodation, and collaboration. I am supportive of my subordinates in achieving their goals. Knowing my leadership style helps me to create my leadership philosophy. I believe people want to do their part and more for an organization. I believe everyone is an important member of the team, and their ideas should be heard. I also believe that I may not always agree with my team members. However, I recognize I do not have all the answers. Next, I will discuss my personal values, assumptions, beliefs, and expectations, and how they impacted my role in the community service sector and on the City Council. People's values, assumptions, beliefs, and expectations, or VABEs, influence the way they believe the world is or should be. The most successful leaders consider these factors when attempting to influence others. My VABEs affected my role in the simulation. I valued everyone's thoughts and considered their ideas thoroughly. I assumed everyone had the same level of work ethic to accomplish our common goals. I believed everyone tried their very best and gave it all they had. Finally, I expected everyone to do their part and meet scheduled deadlines. Changes did evolve during the simulation. I found that no one person could complete the simulation alone. It took working as a team. Sometimes we had to take up slack for each other. However, during the course, everyone needed a little help from one another. There was a balance. Now I will reflect on each of the 5 characteristics of emotional wisdom as I observed or used them during the simulation. Clausen described emotional intelligence as managing your own emotions. Our emotional quotient, or EQ, involves acknowledging and managing our emotions, plus not letting our emotions take control of us. Recognizing our emotions can be easy to do on the surface. However, we need to reflect further to truly have a sense of our complete emotional state. We cannot become superior leaders if we are suppressing emotions. Becoming aware of our emotions and dealing with them allows us to be positive influences in the workplace. Clausen provided 5 characteristics of emotional wisdom: the ability to accept people as they are, the capacity to approach relationships and problems in the present rather than in the past, the ability to treat those who are close with the same respect and courtesy reserved for those who are strangers, the ability to trust others even if the risk is great, and the ability to do without constant approval and recognition from others. I accepted my classmates. We are all intelligent and did not end up in this course by accident. If someone has scheduling issues or seems to be in a bad mood, I accept there has to be a good reason. I leave the past in the past. The issues we experienced and resolved are over. We move forward towards accomplishing our goals. I trusted my teammates to take care of their share of the workload. We are all professionals and we did our part and more. Although it was not expected, we always acknowledged each other for the good work we did. focusing on our emotional intelligence helped us to be a more positive and successful team. What I would change if I could repeat the simulation experience would not be worrying at the beginning of the course about how overwhelming the simulation seemed to be. It was a new experience and it seemed unbelievably difficult. However, as it turned out, it was not that horrible. There was a lot of work necessary, but it was not impossible. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation on my reflection of my experience on the City Council, the leadership philosophy that I developed, about the VABEs that I discovered, my reflection on my emotional wisdom, and the simulation changes that I would make. I hope you have a great day.